sir. It would make us feel a whole lot better regarding our fortunes if we could see that item you told us about.
On the charts.
Aye.
With our own eyes.
To help put an ease to our burden of guilt, so to speak.
Feast your eyes upon this, mateys. Gents, I give you the fountain of youth.
If there's a place you gotta go, I'm the one you need to know. I'm the map.
Bring up me Harley Joe.
Hello consumers, this is Eltari the Professional Gamer, and man has this week been really exciting when it comes to new information for Pax Dei. We got the PC Gaming Show 18.5-minute developer interview, and now on Tuesday we got a world building FAQ in addition to some screenshots, new gameplay footage, and an extended developer interview on building out the world of Pax Dei. There is a lot of new information to digest, and the Professional Gamer is going to be here with you the entire way. So be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with any of your friends who might be interested in Pax Dei. It most certainly helps our small startup channel. Now, for today's subject, and the one that we find probably one of the most interesting, is we got a screenshot of the Friends and Family Alpha map. So this is one of the most exciting things that we can get, because we know from the developer FAQ that was also dropped today that the Open Alpha map is going to include this portion of the map in addition to two similar maps as well. We're going to go into all of that information, what kind of new information we can get from the maps, as well as maybe try and find out what some of these map icons mean as well. And very lastly, we're going to look and see what we might think the icon for Pax Dei means in the world and how it might relate to maps as well. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this in-depth analysis on maps. So to start off, we have this screen grab from one of the gameplay videos that we got, and specifically it was talking about the map. And we got this lovely screen grab of a majority of the map for the Friends and Family Alpha. Now there is a little bit of stuff that's down here in this region, but there is a lot to interpret from just this small cap of the map. We can see that the player's icon is located right here. It has kind of a view triangle that we do see in some games, so maybe there's eventually going to be some kind of directional vision that you'll be able to see on the map. This is kind of something similar that we'd see on a mini map, but this is on the map for the game. And we do know that the developers mentioned in today's info drop as well that when you're in a region, you're going to have this map available to you from the get-go. So it doesn't give you a lot of information of what you can actually find on this map, other than that there are places of interest, it looks like, and interesting things for you as a player to go and explore. And this will kind of guide you along in some of your adventures. But there is still going to be a difference between what the character knowledge is, in other words, what you know just from existing in the world, and player knowledge, which is going to be the interesting rarities that you're going to find throughout this entire map. Now there are a couple of icons that I want to bring our attention to, and the first one is this kind of eye looking icon that exists in a lot of different places throughout the map. And we're going to talk actually about what all of these icons mean, or what we think they might mean, based on another screen grab that we got from one of the developer interviews. But for the time being, we're just going to look and see all of the different icons, look at the biomes, and then we're going to dig deep into this. So we have these eye icons, then we have what looks like sushi. I don't know how else to describe that, but maybe like rocks that are piled up, and there's a little bit of a a cross or something like that that's there. And then we see these kind of ruins as well. And then in addition to the ruins or tower or whatever you want to call it, there's another one that is a little bit bigger. It looks like it has some darker, bold, or maybe that's even red coloring to it. And then there's what looks to be some kind of totem or something like that underneath the icon. Then we also have what looks to be some kind of, I don't know if this is a mine or a cave of some sort, but it looks like you have a mountain and then a really dark space right there. I don't necessarily know what those mean. Maybe it's just piles, like hills or something like that, but something interesting to say the least. And that is about it for all of the different icons that we can see on the map. But let's take a look at the biomes now. So we can see here that there is what looks to be a pine forest. We can see over here what looks to be wetlands. Then right here, there are kind of 3 unique areas. We have this kind of rocky area right here with some pines surrounding it. We have a snow-topped or a snow-capped area right here. This kind of looks like there are trees like blowing in the wind, and then some bushes, so maybe some shrubland or something like that right here. And then obviously the various lakes and rivers, and then what looks to be more of a sparse land up here, kind of like a steppe or something like that, where you don't really have too many pine trees, and maybe it's like a tundra or something close to that. And then we have just a barren kind of rocky area over here surrounding some of the lakes, and you can see another example of that right here. Now also down here we can see kind of a more dark red. These kind of look like trees or bushes of some sort. We can also see it right here, but with more of a green background. And it obviously, this is a screen grab from a video, so it's not the best quality, but we can still kind of piece things together. Now, that is the entirety of the map that we saw with all of the different icons that are there. But now we're going to try and dig a little bit deeper and see what these icons might represent. Now, obviously, we're not in the alpha, and nobody knows what any of these icons or the code for these icons actually mean, but we're just going to take a look at the names and see if we can maybe draw some connections here. So first things first, we need to find out where the heck we are. Right here, you can see that there's some wetlands, and you can see kind of the webbing of some water. There's also a little elbow lake right here that looks like something easy that we can kind of spot on the map. And then over here, we see another smaller kind of web work of waterways right down here. And then the river kind of snakes through and goes off in a forked direction right there. So if we're looking at this map right here, now obviously we're a little north, but in the video that the screen grab was taken from, you can kind of see the elbow right here, some wetlands over here. This is where the Y is that the river splits into. And then more importantly, this is where the large wetlands area is in the other picture, which we can kind of see the makings of right here. Now, we've kind of gotten a relative area that we think we're in. We can see that there's what looks to be a mountain. It says rocky right here. We come back over here. This says to me that that's a mountain. And that's kind of what it looks like as well. So we can see that they've kind of partitioned out in the coding that this specific area is rocky. We also can see all of the other biomes and take a look at what biomes we can see here. So wetlands, grasslands, there's a meadows biome right here, broadleaf forest, pine forest, and then more grasslands, scrublands. So this maybe is kind of the area that didn't look like it had too many trees, maybe just a couple interspersed pine trees. Then we can also see some meadows right here, as well as windswept, which I guess would kind of correlate with the trees that we saw kind of swaying in the wind. But then we also see that there's some more interspersed scrublands, and then right here it says a broadleaf forest but haunted. So again, we have no idea exactly what all of these biomes correlate to, and during the PAX Fri-Dei review, we are actually going to try and tie some of these biomes together with screenshots that we've seen and try and see what the different areas on the map correlate to what we actually will see in game as well. So be sure to tune in for that. But let's take a look at what some of these icons might mean. Now, the first thing that will be the most easy for us to kind of point out is we see right here, it says Holy Shrine in addition to this ERT. And then a little bit south, we can see Quarry Small and Holy Shrine. So somewhere that we're looking for on the map is going to need to have kind of these 4 points next to each other or near each other and almost like a box-like formation. And it's going to have to touch on the wetlands. So let's see if we can find that over here. And the answer is very clearly yes. Obviously, I rehearsed this a little bit, but I wanted to get through it very quickly so you all can kind of get the information that you need. So right here we see 1, 2, 3, 4. It's kind of in a rectangular formation. The wetlands is there, so we're just checking off these boxes. But now we can see that in the top right, there's this tower. Then right here, we just have this eye location, and eye location. In the other map, those eye locations look to be a Holy Shrine, a Quarry Small, a Holy Shrine, and ERT02. Now, up until this point, I have absolutely no clue what ERT is. But let's see if we can kind of elucidate from somewhere else. Now, this part is hidden, and I don't know if Mainframe intended us to be able to see this, but it's there, it's out in the public, so we're going to go and look at it anyways. Now, this looks like it says L_Empire Ruins _large_01 portal 01. Empire Ruins, in other words, ER. So I think what we're seeing here is a correlation to these pink locations, Empire Ruins, and what we might be able to see from those. Now, another important thing to note is there are a distinct difference between these two icons. We have a normal icon that kind of looks like these, and then we have a slightly larger icon with a relative similarity between the two, but there seems to be some kind of totem or some other smaller icon that's a little bit more grainy and we can't really make out. Then what looks to be some darker kind of other things around it. So I think it's safe to say that this is the Empire Ruins large _portal, and this is just Empire Ruins _T, whatever that may be. Now, in order to confirm this, let's try and see if we can find another location that might have this icon and see if it exists on the other part of the map. If we look over here to the far west, we see another one that's kind of identical or similar. If we go over here to the far west and a little bit south, what do we see? LT or LI Empire Ruins large _1 _portal _0s. So it looks like we have found another large Empire Ruins that exists over here, and that correlates with those icons. So we know that we have these holy shrines and quarries that are kind of denoted as the eyeballs or the eye circles, or we're just going to call these like interesting waypoints or something like that, or points of interest maybe, because they're just quarry small and shrine. They just look like places for the player to venture to. We can see that there's a big quarry right here, holy shrine, that kind of correlates to those top ones. But now let's take a look and see what these RFs equal. Now, I don't think we have an example of a long-winded RF. And I've combed through this entire picture many times, and I'm just not seeing any additional information there. So we don't really know what those are. We know what they look like. We know that they kind of look like this right here and like this right here, but we don't really know what that means. Additionally, I don't really think that we have an indication of what the area, the mountain cave looking icon means either. We do see that there's RF, 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 and I'm not seeing any distinction between what the RFs are equal to here, other than that there's a small quarry, a holy shrine, and then a bunch of RFs kind of all scattered around in the same area. Now, it did say that there's cave S, cave, all these different caves. I would assume that's small cave, a medium-sized cave right here, M03. But I only see one kind of cave marker icon that's in that area. So who knows what these icons are? And again, we're all kind of just theory crafting ourselves here by looking at this one screen cap. But that's all the information that we can kind of get from this. Now, the developers also gave us another set of information, and this is kind of telling us what these other areas are that were denoted on the main map. Now we can see here that these are what the developer called Heartland Valleys, and it looks like there are 6 here. Now, some of the Heartland Valleys are connected to each other, while others have a distance between them. So we have Armanhak, Tolasana, Maremna, Gravas, Tursan, and Lavadon. And then in between them is a province. This is kind of how the map is going to look like in Pax Dei in general. You're going to have these Heartlands provinces, which are where we're going to be able to build. And this is the first zone that they had ready for the Friends and Family Alpha. That tells me some interesting information, mostly that means we're either 50% or 33% of the way to a completed set of regions for the alpha. But let's get into that a little bit more. So when they were asked, can you explain the difference between the regions, provinces, and heartlands? The response was, the world of Pax Dei is split into 4 main regions plus 4 in-between regions. The 4 main regions are Gallia, Gothia, Iberia, and Anatolia. For the release, they're going to be focusing on building part of Gallia, whose terrain and atmosphere are mainly inspired by the southwest of France, with an enchanted twist. A province is a large section of a region. We will have different types of provinces, but the Heartland provinces are the most important and also the biggest ones. A different kind of province is what we currently call the contested provinces, which, as you can guess, are related to PvP. So this is our first glimpse at what PvP is in this particular regional provincial organization of territories. A Heartland province contains several home valleys, 6 in the example that we were just looking at, and a home valley is a blessed land where players can place their plots and build villages. In the game, this province is a square of 10 kilometers per side, but the playable area is only around 70 kilometers squared. In other words, 27 miles squared. We aim to have at least 2, ideally 3 Heartland provinces by the time we let people in. So that's all of the information that they gave us on the regions, and they did say that the main regions are Gallia, Gothia, Iberia, and Anatolia, with some other regions that are in between them. But we're going to be playing in Gallia, and this is only a smaller part of Gallia that we're looking at. So when they were asked how large the world of Pax Dei is, they said it depends on what one means by the world. The entire world of Pax Dei won't be available at release and will start with a portion of the world in the region named Gallia. So again, I'm thinking that they're talking about full release, but it's unclear in this and they didn't give any more specifics on it. But at least for the alpha that we're going to be playing in, it's guaranteed that we're going to be playing in a portion of the world that is called Gallia. So they say that they aim for at least 2 or 3 Heartland provinces, plus some dungeons and another type of province that they're not ready to talk about. Wink, wink. I am pretty sure this is the contested provinces for when we'll open the doors to our world. Overall, that would give you a playground of approximately 150 kilometers squared. So if we're looking at the approximation from the original question, they said around 70 kilometers squared is one of these provinces. So safe to assume that if there's a little bit of province in between, which is the contested area, then 2 of those would be around 140 kilometers squared, which if you're adding in a little bit of change, you're getting to the 150 kilometers squared. So I'm pretty sure this confirms that what we're talking about here is only for the initial alpha release, and we're going to be playing in a portion of the region of Gallia, and it's going to comprise approximately 150 square kilometers or 58 square miles of playable area. Now, they say, of course, it heavily depends on the content production capabilities and some technical constraints, and we could end with something slightly smaller or far bigger. So that's, I believe, where the additional province could come in if they're able to get that produced a lot quicker than they're expecting. Or if they have some technical difficulties, they might end up with a slightly smaller area to work with. But that is ultimately pretty reassuring that we're getting pretty close to an alpha here. Now, one of the topics that the developers did mention is these other regions, these 3 other main regions that exist in Pax Dei. Now, Dante from the Pax Dei official Discord posted a picture very similar to this one, pretty much right after the announcement was made. And I thought it was very, very interesting what this icon kind of now means, now that we know how the world is organized and how things kind of can piece together in it. Now we know that the Axis Mundi from the lore is the central location, kind of where the first man originated from. It is where the divine has the most focused power. So that would be somewhere like a holy city or something that's centered in the very center of this diagram. Then they mentioned to us that the other 4 main regions are Gallia, Gothia, Anatolia, and Iberia. Now, there are some other minor regions like Helios and I think also Atlantis, in addition to a couple of others. But for the most part, there are these 4 main regions. I don't think it's circumstantial that the 4 gaps around the center gap for the Pax Dei logo can keenly fit our other 4 regions. So we have Gallia, Gothia, Anatolia, and Iberia, with, again, the Holy City in the center. Now, this was something that was very interesting to me because I'd never really seen this before. But Oopster, one of the community members and also the guild leader for the Order of Artemis, brought this up to me in a conversation that this actually jogged their memory about old medieval maps of the world. So they said, can you talk a bit more about the lore of Gallia and the rest of the world? They said Gallia is one of the 4 great kingdoms that stood for eons, but crumbled along with all of the others and most of the civilization during the Great Downfall. The region of Gallia was once one of the old seats of power in the world. Let's go clockwise from there through the known world. We have Thule to the east, then Gothia, Carpathia, Anatolia, and Helios to the high south, Then we have Iberia, and finally Atlantis before returning to Gallia. Gothia, Anatolia, Iberia are the other 3 regions named after the ancient kingdoms of the world, while the other regions, being wilder and geographically further afield, never in recorded history were really encompassed by the Pax Dei, or Divine Peace. Note that what is drawn up here is a schematic image of the world of Pax Dei. It is not quite this simple. The lands of the Old Kingdom tend to reach more towards the center of the world, while the wilder regions stretch more outwards. Rivers, lakes, and oceans weave through the world, and mountain ranges and other natural or unnatural phenomena divide various areas, making this more complex than it sounds. And then there are the uncharted areas that stretch between the borders of the known world and the true edge of the world, wherever and whatever that may be. Some call it the Rim Worlds, others call it simply Terra Incognita, and simply mark "Here be dragons" on their map in order to warn off daring adventurers from roaming too far out. And who knows, there may well be unknown beings there and people yet undiscovered. These are lands of legend and myth, of which the only reliable known records stem from the First Crusade. Lastly, the reader should note that what we have talked about here is the known world, the creation itself. There may yet be other material places undiscovered, created by beings strong in spirit, beings who do not necessarily find it beneficial to dwell under the eye of the divine for whatever reason that might be. Let's take a look at, oh wait, no, this isn't the logo for Pax Dei. This is an actual map of medieval Europe. Now, Oobster brought this up to me, and I thought it was quite interesting. You can see here we have Europa, Africa, and then Asia right here. And in the very center, we have Jerusalem, which is just another, way of saying Jerusalem, or the Holy City. You can also see Mare Magnum, the Tanis, the Nihilus, as well as the Oceanius. This bears a lot of resemblance to the Pax Dei symbol, and I find it very, very interesting that we have these similarities with all of these old maps. And I think it's really, really cool that the developers at Mainframe have obviously done their homework and looked into a lot of medieval history when they were coming up with all of the lore, the maps, and hopefully the gameplay for Pax Dei. We've covered a lot of information on maps. There's still a lot of information to cover in the future. If Pax Dei is something that you're interested in and you have some friends that you might want to get interested in as well, be sure to share this video with them and spread the word about Pax Dei and also this small startup channel. If you haven't done so already, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And until next time, I'm Altari, the Professional Gamer.